Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the kitchen. Today I am going to make some white sausage gravy with pepper in it, and I have some biscuits going in the oven. I've been up for a while. It is approximately 11:30, so why not? You're going to get a little brunch here. So I'm making this for my very good friend Susan, or S.J. Pierce, as you all know her, and I will link you to her Facebook page. She's an incredible author, but that's really not what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to get into the food. I have homemade white sausage gravy. I'm going to read the recipe to you guys, and then I'll also link to the biscuit recipe that I used in the description of the video, where you can also find this. So you need 10 sausage patties or 1 pound of ground breakfast sausage. I'm using Tennessee Pride because I was born in Pikeville, Tennessee. Love this stuff. A cup of milk, a half a stick or 4 tablespoons of butter, some all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons approximately, the biscuits, of course, to serve over, some salt, some coarse black pepper. If you use the regular stuff, you use about half as much as I do. This is really good. It shows up in big flakes in your gravy. It's amazing. And some garlic powder, because right. So we're going to start by browning our sausage in our pan. I like to use my kitchen scissors to open the package because it just makes life 10 times easier when you use the right tools for the right job, you know? These will be washed now. You might be able to see the mess going on in my sink back there, but that's because I was already making biscuits before you guys got here. So, they are baking and I can smell them and they smell so good. Just going to drop this in the pan, then I'm going to turn it on like medium-low heat. If you're using a gas stove or an electric stove, you're probably not going to want to go with medium-low. You're probably going to want to set it about a medium. The only reason I do medium-low is because this glass cooktop retains a lot of heat, so we're going that way. Just going to toss that in there with the bag and wash my hands because it's raw pork. Okay, I have this nifty tool that I picked up off Amazon. It's shaped like an X. It's got a long handle, and I use it to break up meat in my pans. So I'm just going to smash this sausage around until it is really finely chopped up. And as it cooks, I'm going to keep mashing it because that matters. So just keep in mind that this is a pretty quick breakfast. It took me maybe 10 minutes to make those biscuits, and now they're baking. And while they're baking, I'm making the gravy and the sausage to go with them. Now, if you want sausage patties, feel free to cut off a piece of sausage off this roll before you pop it in the pan, or a couple of pieces. Mine's still very cold, so just fry those up on the side. Add them to your biscuit, because why not, right? You can also use sausage patties for this, and you just do the same thing. You just break them up in the pan, either before or after they're cooked. It doesn't really matter. You're going to get the grease one way or another. So we're just going to wait for this to start to brown. And it's actually pretty well seasoned pork sausage, so I may not need to add a lot of salt, but I have it here just in case. And I'm using salted butter, but you can use unsalted if you're like trying to, you know, for heart health or whatever. So I have my milk, and I said a cup of milk, but it may take me 2. So we will adjust as we go. I'm not really big on measuring, and I was like, oh God, I have to write out a recipe. That's so crazy. But I did it, just for y'all. Okay, gonna brown this up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now, sausage is all cooked. Make sure that it is cooked through, because we're not gonna cook it again before we dump it back in the gravy. So I have this slotted spoon that I switched to about halfway through because I want it broken up into pieces that look about like this. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just grainy, but it's not like taco meat. So what I want to do now is with this slotted spoon, just kind of drain some of this sausage out and put it on my towel-lined plate that I have prepared over here. Now don't get all obsessive. It's okay if there's a couple of pieces of sausage left in the pan. So my timer's going. That means my biscuits are done. I'm gonna just pop those out of the oven really quickly. Oh, they look amazing. Look at that. And they're gonna get brushed with some butter before I use them. So I'm gonna put those over there to cool. The big idiot that I am, I will actually grab hold of a hot pan handle. So I have these slip-on covers for my cast iron. Don't ask. One too many really hot pans. All right, so put your grease back over your heat here. I'm still on about medium. Add your butter, one big chunk, it's fine. And then just kind of move it around to get it melty. It's also going to kind of brown in the pan. So we just want to make sure that butter gets totally melted. We don't want it to get too hot. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on it. If it gets too hot, I'm going to inch this down just a smidge. Now you can add some red pepper flake, like I said, if you want a little bit spicier gravy. The pepper should do it, black pepper should do it, but some people like that little fire in the back of their mouth, yeah? So a little about me while I'm melting this butter. I was born in Tennessee, but I grew up in Louisiana. I moved back to Tennessee, lived there for 14-ish years, 12 years, and then I moved to Georgia. So now I live near Atlanta. That's just beautiful. Okay, my butter is melted. Now I'm going to pick up my whisk, and I'm going to sprinkle in a couple of tablespoons of flour. It may take more than 2, so bear with me here. You just want enough to make a basic roux that we are going to add our milk to. And it doesn't have to be super thick, but you want to cook it long enough so that it takes that flour flavor out of the flour. And all the little chunks of flour that you happen to maybe throw in there break up really nicely across the bottom of your pan. This is a cream gravy, and you can use milk or heavy cream. I don't really suggest half and half, but this is going to take a lot more milk than I thought. That was about another half a tablespoon of flour. Now I'm getting to the consistency that I want. This is kind of what you're looking for. You want it to be a little bit runny, but so it still coats the bottom of your pan. Now I'm going to take it off the heat. We're going to move right over here. I'm going to add my garlic. It's just a light sprinkling of garlic. You don't need to go crazy. You don't want that garlic flavor to overpower everything else, and it is a strong, strong flavor, so just whisking it right in there. Going to add just a pinch of salt because I don't know what it's going to taste like yet. Turn this stove off for a minute, and then I'm going to add pepper, and it's going to be a lot of pepper. So probably a tablespoon and a half, and just toss that right in there. You want to be able to see it, and you want to be able to taste it, because this is white pepper gravy. All right, now we are going to whisk in our milk. The reason you take it off the heat is because you add cold stuff to hot stuff, not where it's still hot. I'm going to whisk that first cup in, then I'm going to put it back on that stove eye, which is still hot, even though it's not on. Just to see what our thickness level is at, because we want it thick but not super thick, like it needs to coat the spoon, but it doesn't need to like glob onto the spoon. And I'm going to measure out another cup of milk just in case I need it. I feel like I will, because that was almost 4 tablespoons of flour. We're kind of winging from the hip here. This is a liquid measuring cup. You can tell because it has a little spout on the edge. That's the difference between a liquid measure and a dry measure. Pop that heat back on. You can see it's still steaming, so. But what I'm trying to do is make that flour thicken that milk up, because we want a beautiful thick gravy to go on our biscuits. Those biscuits look so amazing. Okay, see it's kind of chunking up in the bottom there. We don't want it to be that thick. So I'm going to add the second cup of milk. Ooh, that's hot, 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 hot. And whisk it around. And the reason I don't start with 2 cups of milk is because you can, 2 cups of milk. 2 cups of milk is because you can add more, but you can't really take it back out once it's in the pan. So, proceed at your own risk. And I will probably add more as I go. Hopefully not another whole cup, but maybe. We will see. Now it's nice and smooth, no chunks. It is thickening as I'm stirring it, so I may need some more milk. Like I said, we want it to coat that spoon, but we don't want it to like glob on there like you saw before. I don't even know if you could see in the pan, but I did my best, so. Now when I move it off the heat, what I'm going to do is put the sausage back in and taste it, and then adjust the seasoning. Because you can't really adjust the seasoning without the sausage in there. Oh, that is pretty. Let's make sure it doesn't thicken up too much more. Okay, so the consistency of the gravy is good. It's kind of like this, but it will coat your biscuit or your spoon. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop it right off the heat. It doesn't need any more of that. And 2 cups of milk was our magic number. I'm going to 86 this whisk because I don't need it anymore. And grab my spoon. Securing the paper towel. Just put that sausage. Any grease that's on there is fine. You don't even really have to put it on a towel line plate, but it takes some of it out, so totally up to you. And then stir until that sausage is nice and coated with that gravy. You end up with the most luxurious sausage gravy in the world. Look at that. And it still flows. Look at that. Oh, it's so beautiful. Just give that a nice mix around. Now, if you find it still too thick for you, you can add a touch of milk at this point. Totally up to you. Totally up to you and your flavor preferences. So I'm going to taste this really quickly. Just grabbing a spoon out of my drawer. Making sure it doesn't need any more salt or pepper. The pepper is good. It does actually need a touch more salt. So I'm just going to sprinkle 2 little, God, that is delicious. 2 little globules of salt over top, probably a ½ teaspoon or 1/4. I didn't measure my hand, so I really have no idea. Just salt it to how you like it, okay? Then we're going to taste it again. Can't stick my spoon back in the pan because that would be gross. So I'm just going to let it glob on there. Yes, it was perfect. Oh my God, Joyce. Okay, I'm going to grab some of this and throw it on a plate. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, y'all, coming over here to sit with you guys. Got my biscuits and gravy on my plate. Yum. I'm gonna take my fork and cut a piece off. Oh my God, those biscuits are so beautiful. Mmm. Mmm. That is some southern right there. Look how light and fluffy and beautifully layered those biscuits are. Aren't they gorgeous? And I brushed them with some butter. Mmm. That's perfect. They're not dry. They're flaky. They're begging for some jelly. Mm. So, I'm gonna sit here and finish my breakfast of champions. And you guys, if you haven't subscribed already, do so via the button next to my channel. And if you have, I'll see y'all next time. Mm. Mm. Mm, so good.